what do you know, Julio, where you're going to go is a very good place to start because, it cuts straight to the heart. We know that this is, we say it's football family, but it is a football business. And you see that very clearly at this time of the year and with a lot of conversations going on right now. I heard that Julio kind of has a little for your man, Cam and the Patriots. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah, Julio actually, apparently there was a report. See, this is the thing that I hate about the NFL. I don't think Julio came out and said this, but there was a report that suggested that Julio would love to play with Cam Newton. And it was later solidified that that may be the case because his two teams on his list, Jen, are the Patriots and the Titans.
I can confirm that Julio and Cam are friends. That I can confirm.
They do have a picture together. So
I do not have a picture with Julio, but I do have a picture with Cam. And Julio was at Cam Newton's kickball tournament. This is where all the ballers go. So I've seen them kick balls together, if that counts. Yes. And I remember hearing them talk when Julio was still with the Falcons and Cam was with the Panthers on how much they would love to coach together or play together. So it is great to hear that there is the possibility that could happen because I know, boy, oh boy, I remember Cam saying, oh, I wish I had you as a target. And he's like, I wish to play with you. So that love definitely is existing between them.
That's interesting. I'd like to dive into that a little bit. So obviously Cam's from Atlanta and Julio played for the Atlanta Falcons. So that must be sort of the connection a little bit. Obviously they saw each other twice a year for a pretty long time in the NFL, Carolina, Atlanta. Do you know at all what that connection is, or is it just kind of like the brotherhood of the NFL?
I think it's a lot of the brotherhood, and it's also really how guys are when they're at the top end. There's a lot of respect. And, when it comes to those big charity events, guys show up for each other. They go and have each other's back in different locations. And, it'll be like, hey, I've got my charity, you've got yours. I've got my camp, you've got yours. And that's what good friends do at that level. So I know that's why Julio was in North Carolina when we were at the kickball tournament. And so it's great to see that will, that could potentially happen in New England as well.
Do you think it's a good fit just football wise? And do you think it would be a success?
Your guy, Dollar Bill, is throwing in to win this year, right? He is not happy with how things were last year. He's not going to let that go down again. And so, yeah, do I think it could be a good one? I mean, gosh, yeah, we know Bill Belichick likes guys who are really smart football players and that he can use in different ways. I think we've also seen him pick up some of those big time receivers from other teams and really put them in a position that highlighted their success. I think, we've seen Julio get a little bit injured. That's the thing that you can worry about. But I think that he wants the ball more. I think he wants to be a marquee person. And I don't think he wants to go anywhere where he doesn't believe that the team is close to being a championship team, right? If Julio is going to go somewhere, he wants to go somewhere that he feels like can win and that he can be a major piece of that winning equation. He wants to win big, and he wants to put up big numbers to basically, say the Falcons couldn't get it done and Falk you, I'm off to the next one.
Obviously, it's the one piece I think in New England that still remains is that number one wide receiver. They don't have that player, as much as they've added to the tight end group, and they've added, in my opinion, 2 top tight ends, and they've added receivers who can play with Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne. They don't have the number one alpha dog wide receiver who's just one-on-one. You can just throw it up, see if he can make a play, or he's just going to demand a double team. And that would make everyone so much better. It's kind of, I would think, we always hear this comparison, especially as a Patriot fan, I always hear this thing is like, when's the next Randy Moss coming about? And people, don't understand that Randy Moss was pretty good at football. So the next Randy Moss doesn't really just come around. But this is really the next Randy Moss, Julio Jones, who I think still has 2 to 3 seasons left of elite play. So, I mean, that is a guy that Belichick would say, he's double teamed him his whole career when they've played. When that guy gains that double, it's going to make Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith and everyone else better, Jen.
Absolutely. And, you have to respect him with that. And so I think that you will see that dynamic. If they can bring him into New England, there's going to be a lot of things that they could do with that offense and opening up that playbook that they haven't been before. And let's not forget that, he is not only that number one guy, but he's also a physical specimen who can and will get involved in the other elements of the games, unlike some true number ones that you're like, hey, did you see that was right next to you? No. When Julio is a competitor in every facet of his game. So whatever he can do to make his team better, he will do. And putting that into the Patriots with the Josh McDaniels offense, I think it goes nicely.
So this kind of reminds me of the 2007 offseason with the Patriots. So they, in 2006, quick history lessons, they went to the AFC Championship and they lost to the Colts, who ended up winning the Super Bowl. They were winning that game by a lot and ended up choking it away. Anyways, story is that they did not have any receivers that year. Their number one receiver that year was Riche Caldwell. Okay, so they went into the offseason in 2007. They added Wes Welker, Dante Stallworth, Randy Moss, and then they go on that historic run in 2007. But Randy Moss was almost like a addition that we didn't see coming. It was just okay, let's get Randy Moss because it's Randy Moss. That's what the Julio addition would feel like. It's like the Patriots have tried to already solve it, in this case with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry and the guys they signed. But it's Julio Jones. So let's just go out there and get the guy. And then it just kind of exponentially upgrades. But then the other thing with the Patriots is Mac Jones too has to be taken into account. So having that guy for your rookie or for a second year pro, whatever it may be, for the next couple of years is going to be massive to his early development, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And, if they're looking at Mac Jones as being the long-term strategy, then as Julio Jones, okay, that's going to get confusing, really. Are we going to have Jones to Jones?
The Jones squared.
Jones. I'm jonesing for Jones in New England. It could be a whole thing. Please don't get any more. I'll be whiplash, right? But if you're looking at him,
they do have Jonathan Jones on defense.
Oh, right. Drop the mic. Can we get creative? Can we have another name? But to have a receiver like Julio Jones to be able to be that guy that, Mac Jones can target and know that it's not just about the receiver being able to do it, but one of those guys who's making a 75% catch ratio, that helps a lot. That means it doesn't have to be perfect to count. And, that is a great point, Mitch, and definitely something that, New England should consider. And, to be honest, and I know you're a New England fan, so you'll love this. I see New England being a better landing spot as long as, we can keep the egos out the building, right? Because having too many of those can sometimes be friction.
I don't think Julio has ever been a guy to be profiled as an ego guy. This is the thing with me. I think he legitimately feels like he wants to go somewhere he can win. And whether that's Tennessee or New England, I think he wants to go the best place where he has a chance to win a Super Bowl or just have a deep run in the playoffs or whatever it is. I've never seen Julio that way. Maybe it's because of his quiet persona. But
and all I was going to say is when I say, if we can keep the egos out of the building, I'm not saying that I'm saying he's a guy who's driven by ego or any of those things. What I'm saying is when you get that many big personas in any one locker room, right? Yeah. It's all about, are we putting me as an individual first? Are we putting us first? And I'm a big part of that, right? And so when you also have a lot of new talent coming in at the same time, it's less established, if you will.
Right. They have to buy in
at
the same time.
everybody's coming in at the same time. So that's what I mean by that. It's nothing against Julio at all. It's just thinking about how many new signings are coming into New England and how much different it's going to be this year than it was last year.